All right, y'all, we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business today. Gonna see if its Google search, local and city Google search, has BSS, yes or no. All right, so we're back in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. And as always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video up on the top, homepage, wherever. Now, this is because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got in white down there, our intent, basically our intent spectrum, highest intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And so if a boudoir photography business is rising, it's most likely bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, the whole length. And if it's if a boudoir photography business is falling, then most likely it's missing, not bringing in, some cohort of people. Now, the highest 10 people over on the left are doing things like Google search, social media search, like a boudoir photo shoot in their city, like right now. And those people are fastest to the money, highest to convert. We talk about that with BSS here in our videos. And then our sister brand, way at the end over there, name is Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. That's where we are talking about BLCS. But right now, we're only currently working with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So on to BSS. BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google for the highest intent buyer keywords in their city. And so 0 slots is awful. I mean, we're basically dead at that point. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page 2. So 80% of Google searches literally, one and done Google searches, or page 1 and done Google searches. So if we're on page 2, only approximately 20% of searches of people searching will ever even find us. And page 1 slot, that's not good either. Or 1 slot on page 1. I mean, it's better, but we're still basically invisible because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1. If we go on one of them, then there's basically 9 other boudoir photographers with 1 slot. Best scenario. Worst scenario is if another boudoir photographer is like 2 or 3, and then we're going to really never getting looked at. So let's say everyone has 1. And guess what a buyer's doing? They're going down, clicking open everyone's link on page 1, because approximately 80% of buyers ain't even hitting page 2. And guess what? They're contacting everyone on page 1, getting a quote from everyone, comparing, price gets shoved down through the roof or down through the floor, and kind of steals margin from everyone. So 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google, no, that's BSS. We cannot deal with any of that. And that's because 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's super common, it's accepted, but symptom of 2 deeper root causes, and those are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, yeah, basically everyone knows this. It's like, seems like every week somebody gets a new iPhone, and then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile and their websites and the National Boudoir. That's kind of taking competition, page 1 organic slots away from us. Or someone gets a camera, and they're posting to the mom groups in the National Boudoir. Also, big wave of this happened during COVID. People lost their jobs, it's out there in money. So as a result, everyone's got a smartphone and an awesome camera. So pretty easy people would say that they now for boudoir. But what that does increase the supply of boudoir photographers, but the number of buyers remains the same. So it makes it harder for every seller, every boudoir photographer to be getting those clients. All right, so everyone knows that. Basically, everyone knows that. Basically, nobody knows about this second thing, which is the false belief of page 1 equality. So that is kind of boudoir photographers kind of automatically assuming without even questioning that every boudoir photographer is entitled, to like either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe they had their slot 8 on page 1 of Google with their website. So new boudoir photographers came in, ranked higher, and got pushed out to page 2. And it's like, oh, well, every boudoir photographer gets 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. It is what it is. And basically, they're believing there's nothing that can be done about it. So this is 100% incorrect. And I know this for a fact because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days with this new strategy we're going to show you all today, or that I'll describe today. And it's kind of like we got to break through the mental barrier of accepting this as a false belief. And then once we do that, we can see, okay, there is a solution out there that we'll get to in like 2 pictures here. That, okay, we can use this to actually literally get as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort for. Next, a boudoir photographer BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So, disappearing boudoir photographer. Basically, if we got 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, we're disappearing because we're either on page 2 or deeper, and approximately 8% of searchers are never going to find us, and that's the bulk of the market that we care about. And if we got one slot on page one of Google, we're being price shopped against the other 9, destroying our margins. We're basically invisible anyways. And we care about this because the disappearing boudoir photographer is the warning light. It's kind of the the red flag going up, where the disappearing boudoir photographer precedes the boudoir photography business itself disappearing. So that's why we care about that. And we got our micro universe here. We got disappearing with boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one the false belief of page one equality, where we accept it's a false belief. So we're like, okay, now what's the solution? Boom, we finally got a solution. But through our testing, we've learned that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we know this works because we invented it. It's what I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, in only 10 days. And I mean, it works exactly as it's described. We saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, pick up as many slots on social as possible on social search, and that kind of acts as like the backside of the Andes Mountains in South America, where the streams, small streams, the small rivers from the backside of the Andes Mountains actually all flow together to the Amazon River, and into the big Amazon River. That big Amazon River is like page one of Google, and so, but it all starts with social search saturation. That's where it all stems from. And the cool thing about this is the only solution I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation, so maintain the business and not decline, but also still grow in the face of market saturation, and for it to happen relatively quickly. And those at least visible results of getting on page one of Google to happen relatively quickly. The only other solution that I have seen is having a strong brand, but that takes 5 to 10 years, which doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria that we need. Because dude, we're in the AI. Dude, AI taking peep shops. We gotta get as much. We gotta get as much slots on page one as Google as possible before AI starts taking people's jobs. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see. S-cubed methodology can do this. So imagine we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got their websites saying they shoot boudoir. So page one competition is insanely crazy. And let's say we take, we see that and we say, okay, we got to take S-cubed methodology to the max. So what we actually do is we actually do S-cubed methodology so hard that we're like the first 300 slots on social search for the highest intent keywords, highest intent buyer keywords for boudoir in our city across all the social networks. And then let's say that flows onto Google, and we're taking like the first 300 slots on Google for the highest intent keywords for boudoir buyers in our city. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're literally taking up the first 30 pages on Google. So anytime any buyer looks up, types in a high intent buyer keyword into Google, or even any of the social networks, they're only seeing us. They basically got to go to like page 31 on Google to essentially find any of our competitors. And so once that happens, then basically once that happens, and buyers can essentially only find us. They only see us. Who are they going to go with? Obviously us, whose business will be growing, even though there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers. Obviously us, and whose business will be dying and disappearing because they essentially cannot be found at all for anyone searching. All our competitors. So again, this is why I said the S-cubed methodology is the only thing I've seen that helps boudoir photographers maintain and still grow their business in the face of market saturation. That happens, or I can get on page one of Google relatively quickly, way faster than brand. And in my estimation, I could probably build that brand about 8x faster normally, because we show up so much more on so many other surfaces. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we now have page one visibility. So, we got multiple slots on page one of Google as an initial benefit. Second initial benefit is every new slot we get on page one of Google, we're actually kicking one of our competitors at that slot, push them off to page one or deeper, making so approximately 80% of Google searches can never find them. So we turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, where if they stay there, they're eventually going to exit, be kicked out of the market. So this is an awesome, second initial benefit of using S-cubed methodology. So we're making other peeps invisible. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So BSV, we actually, this is where our GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one of Google comes in. So GBC universe recommends 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google, because basically every other boudoir photographer page one on Google will have 1 out of 10 slots or one slot. So if we see 3, or if a buyer sees 3, they're kind of subconsciously going to think, man, why is Google recommending this person so much? I guess I'll click into them and may not even click on any of our competitors. And second reason GBC Universe recommends 3 out of 10 as the minimum, because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance another boudoir photographer can have 2, which means we also got to be able to dominate them in that case as well, with us having 3. So, and the recommendation of 3 is basically if we got 3 out of 10 page one on Google, we're basically guaranteeing we're not declining. So we're guaranteeing we're either, treading water, so maintaining the business, or growing the business. Most likely growing the business, but we're at least not declining. That's like the big goal here. And finally, a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one and the false belief, page one equality. Now we have the solution S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results doing this. So I wanted to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I know, okay, the exact thing I do for that is S-cubed methodology. I want to have as many slots page one Google as possible. Let's go down the organic slots. And we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 9, no, I'm not slot 9. Slot 10, me. So, dude, I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots on page one of Google in only 10 days, purely using S-cubed methodology. So these are the results I've gotten for myself with it. And up to the main event here. Going to see if this boudoir photography business has, we're going to see if it has BSS for its one lone Google search here. Looks like we combined local and city. Search for this one. All right. So here we go. Goshen, Indiana. All right, they got 1 slot, 2 slots. All right, 2 out of 10 slots. All right. So BSS is not present, but they did not hit the recommended minimum of the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 Google page one slots. But hey, at least I don't have BSS. That's kind of the first thing we got to solve. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, you got BS boudoir search sameness. So you're at 0 or 1 slots on page one of Google for local search and city search. Or even, you haven't reached a 3 out of 10 GBC minimum, recommended minimum. And you now understand page one equality was a false belief. You're like, oh yeah, now that I think about it, actually it doesn't make sense. We can have as many slots on page one as we want, as we'll put in the effort for. And you understand market saturation, people buy new iPhones, become boudoir photographers, new cameras become new boudoir photographers. But now there's a special third option, which is AI taking more and more people's job every single day. Which means there's going to be more and more people entering the market, no job, becoming boudoir photographers because they already got the iPhone as a camera. Throwing up their website, throwing up their Google My Business profile, posting in the mom groups, and actually, potentially pushing us off page one. So you're going to see that more and more. And you're seeing S-cubed methodology is the only thing out there that we can see that actually effectively renders market saturation not a non-issue if we successfully use S-cubed methodology. And you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 organic page one slots on Google, because that's a result of saturating social search on all the search platforms already. That's simply the outcome. You want boudoir search visibility. And you also understand kind of the back-end bonuses of using S-cubed methodology, which is kind of the more thematic theme keyword columns we attach to our brand, kind of our usernames across social. The increased probability A, we show up here in AI search overview or AI overview, because we're getting these thematic keyword columns all built around us. And AI knows it because of it's pulling everything from social search, from Google. And so you want that higher chance of being here in the AI overview, kind of like the first main recommendation. It's kind of a bonus of using S-cubed methodology. And then the second bonus is you actually want the higher chance of showing up recommended for AI search, ChatGPT search, Claude search, and Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, people using AI search, which I haven't done a Google search, actually click and read a link in like a year. It's been all AI search. I'll use the Google AI mode feature. And so you're seeing all that. You want to achieve all that with S-cubed methodology. And you also know you want to be a first mover with this in your city, because you know that the more momentum, kind of the earlier you start, A, you'll give me exclusive leads for the city. B, kind of the thematic keyword columns that we'd start creating, these have momentum. It's not like ads where you just stop spending and they vanish. You lose your one slot Google, your Google keyword slot. Who cares about that if we can hit 6, 7, 8 out of 10 page one Google slots for the highest intent keywords? But we're actually building momentum in the background, because what we do to saturate social is kind of our strategy persists. It still exists even when no ad spend's being put behind it. So we're kind of building these thematic keyword columns in the background, higher chance we get recommended AI search. And you want to build these columns, kind of invisible thematic keyword columns, before all your competitors start to do it, because that will entrench you page one on Google, and maybe also bleed over into page two domination on Google and all search, all social platforms, and kind of prevent any new boudoir photographers coming into the market from ever ranking on page one, and also prevent them from ever catching up to all these thematic keyword columns you have attached to you that cause you to be recommended in AI search. And you also recognize if someone else starts using S-cubed methodology with me first, you would then have to figure out how to recreate our proprietary methodology, and then you'd have to equal our output doing it correctly to even keep pace with us and our competitor we're working with, and your competitor we're working with. And then you'd actually have to outwork us to overtake our momentum. We've already been building up invisible momentum with your competitor. So if you want all those outcomes, then shoot me a DM when the hospital opens for new patient intake. So hospital's closed right now, not taking any patients. No matter what you do, you can work with me. I will open new patient intake when I want to open new patient intake. And so if you want all these benefits, S-cubed methodology is the solution for you. Shoot us a DM when we do open for new patient intake, and we will see. I'll ask you some questions. We will see if you qualify.